Well, hello, my friends, and happy Sunday to you. Look at this beauty we're creating today. Here are the supplies that we'll be using. I just love this project. And here are the stencils that we'll be using and that will be on sale this week. So I'm starting this project on a 12 by 12 MDF board, and I am just gessoing. I'm using my silicone brush and just really kind of scooping the gesso around and getting a lot of movement in there. Not being particular. I don't want it to be nice and straight. I want to have a lot of movement because that's only going to add to the yummy texture in the background. Wait till you see this background. Oh, it's so good. I'm using the Paris Flourish stencil, and this is one of my favorite stencils. And I was just going to place this in like one or two areas. And then when I started getting it down, I fell in love with it. It reminded me of like an old, like that felted wallpaper in like you would see in a Paris hotel or something like that, old. So I kind of went to town on it and just was having fun. And I loved, you wait to see the glaze. Oh, it's so good. But I'm just using gesso and another one of my smaller silicone brushes to put the gesso through the stencil, and I just did it all over that background. And that gesso, you can see the movement of the gesso too. Now I've got a glazing medium that I've mixed up with raw umber and Americana glazing medium. It is, look at this, it just makes me, it's like angels singing when I get that grungy texture on there. So I just cover that whole background with that raw umber glazing mix, and I just could not be happier. All the strokes from the gesso from the first layer, and then all of the texture from the stenciling is just delicious. I just love it. Just wiping it back, getting some kind of highs and lows, and then I add just a touch of gray, and it just was perfect. When I get super excited like this, I start to sing my words. But I just love this background. It's so good. Just gonna kind of hit it with a little bit of gray here and there and just kind of pull it up just to kind of add one more little bit of depth and dimension to that grungy goodness. Look at that. Oh. I cut a heart from just a piece of copy paper and let it be my template. I needed that template to know where I was going to put everything. And then I'm just using my charcoal pencil and sketching that out and sketching out an idea of where I want things to go. Now I do have a piece of paper that I cut from that same template, an old vintage music sheet, that's going to cover up some of that, some of the greens. I want the flowers to kind of come over the top, but I want those greens to kind of feel like they're stuck down behind the heart. So that's why I've got the piece of paper that I'm going to be putting down. But I'm just kind of getting an idea right now of exactly where I want things to go, and that those sketchy lines that will be kind of in the background just only add to it, add to the goodness of the flowers and everything. So I'm coming back in with a tiny flat brush and some Arteza olive gray. It's one of my favorite olive green, and it's now my favorite green. It is like the perfect color of green for me. So I'm just getting in my leaves, just kind of a rough idea of where I want things to be, and adding just a few leaves here and there, adding some of my vines and different things like that. Just kind of freehand, real loose, not being real particular at all, because we're going to add a lot of greenery, but I wanted some of those leaves to kind of stick out here and there, and just really be kind of messy. And so I'm just doing it real fast and not being too particular about it. Adding a little bit of Lucas Acrylics Fern. The color is Fern, and it's that kind of light chartreuse green, just for a little bit of highlight, kind of give me an idea of how it's looking, because we're going to add a lot of highlights later on. This is the Simple Branches stencil, and this stencil made me so happy. It like made the branch area. I'm not even sure why I loved it so much, but I did. It just looked so good and so kind of natural in the mix of the greenery and everything. So this is another stencil in the garden stencil, just adding more to that kind of green effect. And you know, they're all kind of overlapping and mixing together, and that's really what I wanted, because the focal is the flowers. This is just like the backup singers to the show. And so just getting some more greenery down, some more branches. I just love those branches in there. And I did it in raw umber, and then came back in with kind of a mixture of green. And then now that it's all dry, I've got my matte gel out, and I'm putting my vintage music sheet down. And I chose matte gel because we've got a lot of texture going on and we didn't need it anymore. And I was going to do some writing on there. So I got the matte gel out and put that down. I got a little bit of, this color is called Melon from Americana. And it needed just a tiny bit of color to kind of separate it from the background. So I put that melon on there, and then just a few swipes with my palette knife and some gesso. Now we're going to start bringing the stars of the show in, the flowers. And I'm using some of that melon color with some gesso and some green for the center of the flowers. This is the Daisy 2 stencil. And just really doing it fast and loose, not being too particular about my stenciling. This is Flower Gang 5 stencil. And this color here is actually from Lucas Acrylics as well, and it was the mauve. And this is cadmium orange, and I did not like this color at all. So I started mixing colors with yellows and a little bit of everything. I just started, and some of that melon to kind of get the color that I was looking for. And again, this is all part of the Flower Gang 5 stencil. This is one of my favorite stencils too. That color there is quinacridone magenta for the red flowers. And now I'm just going to come in and just start making it real and getting those brush strokes in there, getting my painterly touches, filling in some of the gaps, adding highlights and lowlights and a little bit of different colors, of adding yellow to some of the daisies, and some, I'll go back and forth, but I'm using pretty much the same color palette. I've just taken some gesso to some of the colors and kind of either lightened them up, or some raw umber and darkened them down. And just kind of going to do the dance a little bit and kind of add my colors back and forth. Using my tiny little brush again, real quick, real painterly, not too precise, and just getting some highlights and some lowlights in my flowers so that they're not flat. All of the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog will be down below in the YouTube description box. I'm adding, now that I've got kind of some of my main colors down, I'm just adding a few little dots of blue. Blue just seems to add this unexpected, I don't know, brightness to a piece. Even blue's not my favorite color, but I've found that if I add a little bit of blue, or even like a blue purple, it really kind of adds some more interest and color variation in my work. And I'm just going to continue to add my brush strokes and my highlights and my lowlights with my acrylic paints. Now I'm using Arteza's soft pastels. They just came out with these, and you guys, the colors are amazing. I'm going to do a full review eventually, but I need to play with them and kind of get my feel for them. But the color choices, oh my goodness, they're so good. So I'm now just coming back in like I did with my paint, but with soft pastels, and kind of blending it out and softening things up a little bit, adding my highlights and my lowlights. This is just one more level of depth, and there's nothing like a soft pastel stroke. It's textural, and the nice thing is that you can use them, and if you don't like what you've done, you can just wipe it right up. There's no risk at all. I'm now adding some highlights with my soft pastels to my leaves, some lights and some darks. Kind of bring them back into the picture here a little bit. Adding a little bit of shading around my heart to kind of bring it out and kind of separate it from the background. And I needed that touch of teal, and so I just started adding little marks here and there, a little bit of even like some shadow or shading with my teal, and oh, I loved it. Now I'm going to shade everything with my charcoal pencil. I'm going to go around absolutely everything. Some lines will be lighter or darker, depending on the focus that I want. And I'll just continue to go all the way around this piece with my charcoal pencil and add that yummy depth that you get with charcoal. So I'm going to continue to add just a little bit more shading here, some marks with my charcoal pencil. I hope you stick around for the conversation at the end about the inspiration of this piece, because I know in my life, love wins, always. So I hope you stick around for that conversation. I'm going to write in my words here, or my letters and my words, with a black Sharpie marker, and add a few more touches of shading around the words and around the piece, and that's it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed today's project, and if you did, subscribe and like and all those wonderful things, and I will see you next week. Well, hello my loves, and happy Sunday to you. Yum. So good. I love how the flowers turned out. I love it all. Just super happy with this. The texture, you guys, makes me happy. So good. Okay, all the stencils I used today will be on sale. And a 6x6 of this will be free to you in the resource library. If you are a subscriber, you have access to the resource library. If you're not a subscriber, you can sign up, and I'll have a link to that on the blog. All the supplies will be listed on the blog. And I think that is it. New workshop will be coming out Friday, February 19th, I think that is, next Friday, after you see this video. It's a finish it workshop. It's a start to finish, simple, gorgeous, gorgeous project. I don't have the example here with me, but so good. So that'll be coming out and super reasonably priced and all that kind of stuff. So that's next Friday. Yeah, so that's it for things. The inspiration behind this, well, of course, today is Valentine's Day that you're watching this. And so I was thinking a lot about love over this last week. And I was just thinking about how in my life, love, when I've approached anything with love, anything, it always wins. And I mean, what I mean by that is that it always helps the situation. It always helps whatever. And usually when I'm approaching something with love, it's easy to approach something with love that is good, or it's easy to approach people that we love with love. But when we come up against difficulties or disagreements, or maybe people we don't agree with or who don't like us for whatever reason, I don't know, it's hard to approach those kinds of situations with love. Because I know I naturally want to defend or state my case or explain, or maybe I'm just mad, or maybe what that other person has done is unfair, or they've broken our trust, or they've been abusive. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I've experienced those things. And when I've approached any situation, any hurt, any trial, any abuse, any of that with love, it helps me see another human being with the eyes of a flawed human being. And that love wins doesn't mean that it's easy. Love wins doesn't mean that we can't disagree, or that we have different opinions, or that we can't set boundaries, or tell people who are not healthy and who are toxic to not be part of our inner circle. Love is not about being, I don't even think coward is a word, because love is courageous. It takes everything I have to see someone who may be hurtful with love. And I don't mean like I'm going to hug you and do everything I can for you. No, it means I see you for who you are, and I'm not harmful or hurtful back, and I'm not disrespectful. Doesn't mean I have respect, but I'm not horrible back. And it also means that I am able to set some boundaries, to love myself, to take care of myself, when I can look at other things and other human beings with love. And so for me, that's what love wins means. It means that any time that I have looked at any situation, whether it be work or relationships or spouses, I mean, we love our spouses, but we can sure, maybe tangle with them or whatever. But when I look at the situation with love, I'm reminded that I'm a flawed human being too. And I would love to have love back if I ever did anything wrong, if I ever, when I do something wrong, or when I say hurtful words, that I would be given some grace. So for me, love wins because it only helps me. It only helps me offer forgiveness, to not harbor bitterness and resentment. Love wins because it helps me love myself, and it helps me love all the flaws in me and all the flaws in someone else. And yeah, so that's the inspiration behind this piece. Love wins, and it's not easy. It's just not, and it's so hard sometimes. But it takes courage to see with love. That is it, my friends. If you celebrate Valentine's Day, I hope it's a good one for you. And I hope your Sunday is restful and peaceful. And I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.